Hola, hello.
Hola, muchas gracias por esta oportunidad de presentar nuestro trabajo.
Thank you very much for the opportunity of presenting our work. I am Camila Park. This is
Mauro Fracarolli Nunes.
and we both work under the guidance of Professor José Machuca at the University of Sevilla in the Programa de Doctorado Gestión Estratégica y Negocios Internacionales. So we are here to present our work, Social Sustainability in Supply Chains, the Role of Local Practices and Informal Network. This is a project that we presented at the Roma conference a couple of years back, and that is now published in the International Journal of Physical Distribution and Logistics Management. In this study, we focus on something that we call the cultural void in supply chains. In other words, we want to understand how cultural issues can impact the buyer-supplier relationship, and for that we have chosen 4 local practices that you can see in our poster: the Brazilian jeitinho, the Chinese guanxi, the Russian bla, and the South Korean yongo. So just very briefly, the Brazilian jeitinho relates to a way of circumventing rules. The Chinese guanxi is about relationships and benefits. The Russian bla is about having a strong formal network. And the South Korean yongo base itself in 3 main pillars: blood ties, school ties, and hometown ties. So these local practices give rise to what we call in the international business literature as informal networks. And we are going to see these through the lenses of the social exchange theory in our study. We chose these 4 countries because they're critical to the global economy. More specifically, in our paper, we are trying to analyze the quality of buyer-supplier relationships by the measures of buyer satisfaction, buyer's commitment and trust, and also analyzing solution severity. So we are trying to investigate the misuses of informal networks existing in different national cultures in the quality of buyer-supplier relationships.
Well, so the study is relevant as it sheds light on issues that are usually neglected in the literature, as the study of supply chain management is mostly focused on less subjective issues. And also, I would like to add that the choice of the countries always also add to the literature, because most of studies are concentrated on Anglo-Saxon countries, basically the United States or the UK. So we are bringing the analysis of some cultural issues that are normally not considered in the literature.
For the method, we conducted a scenario-based experiment where respondents were presented with a short scenario and a questionnaire. So scenarios portrayed Company A, which was a battery manufacturer, and Company B, a lithium supplier, and the respondents were asked to role-play as Company A's purchasing manager, and they were buying lithium from Company B. They were randomly assigned 1 variation scenario from a combination of 3 manipulation factors that we worked. First of all was the type of issue faced by the supplier, so either documentation irregularities or the disclosure of modern slavery in the supply chain. Then we had the dependency on the supplier, if the company was dependent or not on the supplier to operate, and the informal network solution. We had a neutral case that acted as a control scenario: the Chinese guanxi, Brazilian jeitinho, Russian bla, and South Korean yongo. So in our findings, what we saw is that there are differences between what are the perceptions of different informal networks when they are used to find a solution to a problem, either documentation irregularities or modern slavery. And what is more important is that we found differences in the patterns between the different scenarios. So, for example, as you can see in figure 1 in the poster, we can see that the patterns and the drawings are different because respondents reacted very differently depending on the type of informal network that was being analyzed.
Well, so we add to the social exchange theory by showing how some of these issues actually perform actually end up having some impact in buyer-supply relationships. So our findings contribute, for instance, for a better understanding of cultural idiosyncrasies that could enhance the status of supply chain transactions, while acting to mitigate risks that companies face in terms of their intangible resources, like corporate image, reputation, for example.